So do you have to be rich to start a nonprofit? I'm going to answer that question today. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, this is Tiffany with Boss in a Budget. I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. So if you need help, make sure you subscribe to this channel and also make sure you follow me at Boss in a Budget on Instagram and go to my website at www.bossinabudget.com. And I'm going to answer this simple question, but I'm not going to just stop there. So in this video, I'm going to answer, do you have to be rich? Is that what it takes to be successful? Do you have to know somebody famous? But also at the end of this video, I do want to talk about some mindset shifts that you really have to conquer if you're going to do this. So this video is especially for you new nonprofit founders. I'm going to go a little deep on this one because I really want you to embrace what I'm sharing with you today. So to answer the question, do you have to be rich? No. Now, if you follow me at all, then you should have already known the answer to this question, because I wouldn't be putting out videos for Boss in a Budget if I believed only certain people who had certain resources could do this. The reason why I started Boss in a Budget is because I wanted to make this information accessible for people just like you who watch me every day and need the help and can't get it other places. So to answer the question, no, you don't have to be rich. No, you don't have to have a lot of resources to be successful. It does take a lot of time, energy, and effort. So if you do have a lot of money or have access to a lot of financial resources, obviously that's more helpful and it can help you get to where you need to go, but it's absolutely not a given or a must-have if you want to be successful as a nonprofit. So if you don't have to be rich or know somebody rich to be successful, I'm going to actually share what you do need to be rich in, because there are things you absolutely need when you don't have a lot of access to financial resources. The first thing you need to be rich in is in connections. So what do I mean by connections? When I say that word, I mean people who are aligned with your cause, people who you invest in knowing better, knowing deeper, understanding what their needs are, and providing them value. What do I mean by providing value? Understanding what makes them tick, understanding what makes them passionate, understanding what motivates them, what they need from you, and providing that. That's what I mean when I say giving people value. When you think about like the basics of building relationships, like the base, what is the foundation of building a relationship? It's understanding that the other person, is listening to the other person and understanding what motivates them. What do they need to function? What do they need to show up and be the best they need to be? When I think about relationships or friendships, to me, that's the basics. Like that's the base you start with when you have a relationship. And it's no different when you're dealing in business. Understanding the person you're trying to reach, understand what motivates them, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what makes them motivated, what doesn't motivate them, right? And trying to align yourself with those people so that you all can do things together. So what do I mean by being rich in connections? I mean finding your people, finding the people who are motivated by the same things, who want similar goals or similar outcomes as you, and building a relationship with them so you all can partner together to make things happen. See, a lot of people ask me when they're starting a nonprofit, like, how do you get a building? Or how do you get a car? Or I need this, I need this. Where do I start? And my answer is always going to be build connections, build relationships with the people you know and the people in your area who may be interested in the work that you're going to do. Everything starts there. And the great thing about being rich in connections is that you could be totally disconnected and not know a lot of people, but really put the work in and invest in this, and years later have a Rolodex. I'm dating myself. Do y'all know what a Rolodex is? Please tell me y'all know what a Rolodex is. But years later, you can have pages and pages and numbers of people that you know and you've built out relationships with. So let me say this about building connections and relationships, because I like to be real on this channel and I like to talk to everybody. I'm going to talk to you introverts, and not even just the introverts, but people who are like, I don't want to build connections. I don't need people. I'm just trying to do my thing and stay in my lane. So for you introverts, I understand, because I am one of you, like how difficult it is to put yourself, especially in group settings or social settings where you feel awkward, where you feel robotic when you're trying to meet people and it feels like I'm just here to get something from them and they're going to sense that and this isn't real, this isn't genuine. Lean into what you do best. And I found, just for myself and watching other introverts, that a lot of us do better one-on-one. Right? I do really well when I can connect with somebody, I can learn who they are, I can ask them questions, I can listen on a one-on-one basis. So if that's you, if that's what you do best, if that's a skill of yours, then build one-on-one connections. Do private Zoom meetings with people if you're nervous about meeting people or going to lunch because you're not sure what you're going to say on a whole lunch or going out for drinks or whatever. Build one-on-one connections. Just reach out to people and say, hey, I just want to learn more about you. Get used to asking questions. Like, have a set of questions that you're going to use, that you're going to ask people to get to know them. You can start building trust with people when you show a genuine interest and trust in them. And for the people who want to stay in their lane and they feel like, I don't want to know anybody, I'm just telling you now that your road to success will be 10 times easier when you understand that you need more than yourself. Okay, so you got to build connections, you got to build relationships with people. The second thing you need to be rich in is in tenacity. So when I say the word tenacity, I mean literally, I just looked up the definition. It is to grip on to something and to hold on, or to be determined, or just know that this is what you want to do. So I'm never going to sugarcoat it when it comes to starting a nonprofit, because from the outset, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys felt like this before you started, oh, everybody has a nonprofit. All I got to do is just like tell people I'm doing something good, raise money, do my little thing over here. It'll be easy. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. And it requires you making up in your mind that this is what you're going to do. If you're going to be lazy about this, or you're going to be like, I'll get to it when I can, it's going to be really difficult to reach the dream or the outcomes that you want for your nonprofit. And this is the thing, you're going to hear no, and you're going to hear no all the time. You're going to encounter people who discount you because you're new, or they discount you because you're small, or you may even begin to doubt yourself. You may be sowing those negative seeds into yourself saying, it's never going to work, people don't trust me, people are territorial, this isn't going to go anywhere, I've been doing this too long. And so you're going to feel those things, you're going to hear those things, but what's going to matter for you is in those moments to be able to say, but I decided that this is what I wanted to do. I decided that this was going to be the answer to the problem I see in my community. And if I don't do this, there's someone else who may not get what they need, because there's a group of people, there's a community that only you can reach. Other people have tried, but you are the person for this time and this place. And if you don't decide for yourself early on or throughout your journey that you're going to stay the course, it may be easier to fall off or just give up. So I'm saying all this to say that in order to make it to where you want to be, sometimes you have big dreams as a nonprofit. Some of y'all want to have $1 million budgets. Some of y'all want to be super big and super influential. And some of y'all maybe are small, you don't want to get too big, you don't want to pay your salary, you just want to make sure there's something available for your community. And some of y'all are kind of in the in between, right? But no matter what that is, you have to decide that this is what you're going to do, because it's not going to come easy. People are not just going to open doors for you. It sounds easy when I talk about it. It sounds easy when I say, hey, make a relationship with people, do this. But just like anything else in life, it takes time, and you have to invest in that. You have to be intentional, and you have to work your way through it. And working your way through it means that you're going to get some barriers. You're going to come across things that are going to make you feel like it's too much or you should stop, right? So I just want to say, like, if you're going to do this, first of all, you can do this, right? You can do this. You can make this possible, but you have to be intentional. You have to be tenacious. You have to set the vision. Keep your eye on that vision, communicate that vision with your team so everybody's on the same page, so y'all can keep going in the right direction together. And the third thing you need to be rich in is patience. So some people, in order for their nonprofit to get where they want it to be, it takes years. I'm talking 5 years, I'm talking 10 years. There are some people who have been working at their nonprofit for years, for 5-6 years, and it just didn't take off. And then all of a sudden, right? All of a sudden something happened, things clicked, and things finally started to be in place. But if those people hadn't been patient with themselves or patient throughout the journey. They may have given up right when the stars aligned or right when it was time for things to fall in place. What I want you to remember is that your success is not going to come overnight, and that's okay, right? Anything worth having takes time to grow and it takes time to mature, but you have to be patient with yourself. I think sometimes when people see like, oh, all I need to do is the paperwork, okay, just give me the processes. As long as I do that, I'll be set. And then when you have the paperwork done, you sit down and you're like, why isn't anything happening? Like, what are we doing here? Why isn't this working? Like, it shouldn't be this hard. But I want you to understand that it's going to take time. And I don't want you to get discouraged by that. Some people want to start their nonprofits and within a year be super successful and super profitable. And then for the people who are really ambitious, some people get there. Some people make that happen. But for most of the people out here who are starting their nonprofits, it just takes time. So I want you, first of all, to give yourself grace, to understand that just because your nonprofit didn't pop in year 3 or year 5, it doesn't mean you're a failure. And it doesn't mean that this isn't the journey for you. It just means it's going to take you longer to get what you need to get. And the other thing I want you to remember is that your journey is not someone else's journey. So when you see other people being successful, that just means it's their time. And your time will come in season, whatever that is. And the other piece about this, I want to say, I feel like I'm preaching, so I'm sorry, but I just want to make sure that I encourage those people who are beating themselves up unnecessarily. The other thing I want you to know is that sometimes how we measure success, we have stretch goals, or we want a certain level of success to make ourselves feel better. But you don't realize, like, in the meantime, the work you are doing, the changes that you are making, is still helping someone. And as long as you help someone, even though you're not helping the 50 or 1,000 people you wanted to reach, maybe you just helped one person or 5 people, that still made a difference. That still helped someone. So while you're beating yourself up because it's taken too long for you to get where you need to go, someone was made better, someone's life improved because you decided to keep going. So I just want to encourage you that this is going to take time. It's supposed to. It wouldn't be right, in my opinion, if it didn't come through heartache, through hard lessons, through you understanding better what you're doing and why you're doing it. It makes it better. It gives you flavor. It gives you seasoning, right? So I just want you just to be encouraged, be patient with yourself, give yourself grace, and just know it will take time to get where you want to go. So I always like to give like advice or just words of wisdom as I have talked to other nonprofit founders and I've watched other people's journeys that I think may be helpful. And so I just wanted to share some important mindset shifts. If you really pay attention to the things that I talked about in this video, you'll understand that a lot of what needs to happen, a lot of what you need to be rich in starts with you. It starts with your mindset, it starts with your approach and what you think and what you believe about your nonprofit. So it's important to check in with yourself to make sure that you're not negatively speaking into your nonprofit and to understand that your mind is right when you're thinking about this. So I wanted to share some important mindset shifts that you should be mindful of and you should be aware of as you approach and as you start your nonprofit. The first mindset shift I just want to share with you guys really quickly is that there is no shame in asking. And you have to get over that. A lot of people who start their nonprofits are business owners who've had to bootstrap their businesses, who've, come through the mud, like you made it, right? And so you decided you want to do something good and you want to help someone else. Or even if you haven't started a business or haven't kind of gone through the motions of having a business, you're probably a go-getter. You're probably a person who likes to get things done, right? Because you created a whole business. You went to the Secretary of State, you messing with the IRS, you're serious. So you're probably like a go-getter, and go-getters don't always like to wait for other people or ask for anything. But what you have to understand is a nonprofit is a different ball game, and it's an expectation that you ask. It's an expectation that you reach across and partner and collaborate with others. The nonprofit industry fills a gap. It's called the third sector for a reason, because there are some things that the government can and won't do, and there are some things that the business sector, the for-profit sector, can and won't do. And the nonprofit sector fills the gap. But you still have to reach across, you still have to partner, because it's other industries' responsibility to support the work that you're doing too. And in order to hold them accountable, you have to work with them. So you got to ask businesses to support. You got to ask volunteers to show up for your community. You have to ask and be willing to accept help. That's just what it is. So if you have the mindset that, oh, I don't need anybody, I can do this myself, you're not meant to do it yourself. Which leads me to mindset shift number 2. You are not supposed to do this alone. This is not all about you. This is not all about your own personal journey and you fulfilling something inside of you. Don't get me wrong, and I've talked about this in other videos. I know for a lot of you, you're starting a nonprofit because it's personal, because something happened to you personally or someone that you know. So I'm not saying, just forget about that piece, but I'm saying you didn't create a nonprofit to just satisfy that, to stop there. You don't need to create a whole nonprofit business to make yourself feel better. That's really not a good reason to start a nonprofit, and it's really not worth the hassle, in my opinion, to do all of that just to stop there. Your goal is to help someone else. Your goal is to improve something. When you started your nonprofit, you're addressing a problem and or proposing a solution to something, right? Based on your personal experience and many of your circumstances, you see that something is needed and you're saying, I'm going to put this in place because it wasn't there for me, or it doesn't exist, or it's not a lot of this, or it's not good enough. Right? And so your goal, your focus is improving that for the people who need you, for the services or the things that need you. It is not all about you. So you're not meant to do this yourself. You have to have a board. So the question about, do I need a board? If someone asks me that question, that makes me realize they're not quite sure about what it really means to be a nonprofit, and that's okay. You need other people. You need other people's brains. You need other people to think with you and process with you and help you see things that you don't see. You need people's contacts. You need people's networks. They know people that you don't know. Right? They're in spaces and in places that you can't reach, and you're not always there. You can't be everything all the time. And just a practical thing, if you want to draw a salary, if you want to be a staff person, you can't pay yourself. As a nonprofit, you can't pay yourself. That's not ethical. So if nothing else, you still need other people to work through the processes for you so you have checks and balances. So, that topic alone is its own video, and I probably will do a video on that. But I just want to remind you that I understand that this may be personal for you and this is your baby, but you got to let other people in, and you got to recognize that you can't do this all by yourself. And finally, number 3 is that you got to understand, in order to have a nonprofit, it takes planning and it takes working the plan. Sometimes people, when they start their nonprofit, they just expect everything to fall in place. We make a lot of assumptions about what 501c3 status really means. And once you have the status, it's just like an automatic thing. People feel like automatically money should come. And they think that it's just a blank check once they receive their status from the IRS, which is why I think everybody gets so excited once they get it, because they're like, oh, I'm in now. And then you sit there and you wait for the money to come and it doesn't come. If anybody has had that experience, please share that in the comments below, because I'm not just speaking from my own experience. I'm speaking from talking to a bunch of people who do make assumptions about what it really means to have 501c3 status, and then they think the money comes and they get frustrated when it doesn't. I'm saying all that to say that you have to plan. If you want to consistently make money, you need a fundraising plan. Right? If you want to consistently recruit or be able to provide services, you have to have some kind of operational plan or some strategic plan to hit your goals. You have to think through what it takes to complete the goals that you have in store for your nonprofit. And so if you think stuff will just magically happen or fall in place, then you're wrong. Okay? And then the other thing about planning is that it takes a group of y'all to get this together. In order for your nonprofit to be successful, you'll often hear me talk about how it takes a group of people. You can't do this alone. It takes a community of people to make this work. It's really hard to get a group of people aligned and working all on the same goal and working together if there is no plan, if there's no understanding of what you all are working on. So you want to have something in place like a fundraising plan, like a strategic plan, to know which direction that you're going, what your communications plan, or what's your marketing plan about how you're going to get your nonprofit out there. What is your budget? How much do you plan to spend? How much do you need to raise in the year, and how are you going to make that happen? All of that requires thoughts. It requires strategy, it requires planning, it requires research. So if you are not operating from a place of planning, which I know for some of you all, especially if you're more of like a visionary type, you can't stand planning. You just want to go. But it does take you at least writing down how you plan to accomplish something so that everyone's on the same page about what happens and you can all move together. Because let me tell you, like, if everyone doesn't know the plan and everyone's not in sync, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Okay. I hope this information was helpful for you all. Thank you so much for watching Boss on a Budget and supporting my channel. If you need help, you can always visit me at www.bossonabudget.com. And if you'd like to join my YouTube membership, you can become a boss in purpose for a low monthly cost. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.